Duncan from the Metal Epidemic, and I'm joined by the guys from Healthyliving. How's it going?
We're all good, thanks.
Great.
How are you?
I'm very well. We are in a basement somewhere in Glasgow just before you guys are hitting on the stage. You're out on tour with Don Walker. You've done your sound check. How was it sounding?
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. The venue's been changed and it sounds cool.
Yeah, we were talking about that. The last time, it's years since I've been here, but you were here not that long ago and the venues just went complete overhaul.
Yeah, it's always good to have
A new experience.
a new PA as well.
Yeah.
Well, a new PA is never a bad thing. So, you guys put out earlier on this year your album, Songs of Abundance, Psalms of Grief. How has that been since that came out? Because that was a little while in the works, wasn't it?
In the works?
Yeah,
Like the album?
so you were kind of teasing stuff as early as 2001. So 2021, not 2001. But
Well, we did like a double wayside single.
yeah,
And then, when was that? Yeah, 2021, so that was like mid-pandemic that was released.
Mm-hmm.
And then the plan for that was always to use that to try and get funding to do our
Right.
album.
Yeah.
So then we got the funding and then we did the album. I think though some people reported they were releasing our album like 2022, but we never ever said this.
All right. Yeah.
So then we were like, oh, okay, it's the year later, but anyway, it was early 2023.
yeah.
So and it was in amongst the pandemic. So for us, it didn't feel like very
Yeah.
long. I guess we recorded the album in September last year,
Yeah.
and then it came out in April. Which
That was super quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for me, actually, the writing process and everything, like I'm used to taking like ages to like demo and write and then release stuff, and it always takes a really long time. So for me, actually, Healthy Living was super quick.
I think as well because like our drummer lives in Germany,
Yep.
so we can do it when we can do it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
we're rehearsing every week. Like that doesn't ever happen. So it's more just when we can get together and then we do stuff.
So in terms of the actual writing process, how do you, as a collective unit, because you're all involved with other kind of projects as well, and fitting that time in, is it a case of in between writing sessions for other projects, you're kind of getting yourself in the headspace for Healthy Living, or is it something that's always kind of there, or what?
For me, for writing Healthy Living, so most of this album was written while I was living in Germany.
Yeah.
And the Healthy Living is just like whatever you're feeling in that moment. And I would just play and Stefan would play drums, and we had some rules about what Healthy Living can be.
Yep.
And basically it's like if you start writing something, you have to finish writing it then. You can't go and rewrite.
All right.
Which is brutal.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But you'd write lots, and then if stuff sticks, it's good. And it's just about trusting what you feel. Another rule would be there can't ever be two guitar parts or two bass parts, or
Right.
there can only be the one guitar part. So
Yeah.
whatever that is, that's it.
Yeah.
And you can't have anything else.
Yeah.
And that just puts you into a specific space instantly.
Yeah.
And then we had lots of different tracks, and then I was living in Germany, we would send the tracks to Amaya, and then it's whatever she would feel connected to. And if some I really liked and she didn't, that's fine. Like, I mean, the singer has to feel it too. Now, of course, it's the most important.
Thank you.
It's the most important. It's the most important part. So we would just send lots of tracks. I don't know how many we sent, like probably 25 or
I
something.
don't know, a million. Like
Yeah.
I had this massive folder of demos, and actually sometimes I would be like, oh, I don't think this is very good, and then I would just randomly hear it again, like lost in my, I don't know, like this like iMusic thing, and sometimes like randomly starts playing a song, and I was like, oh, that's really good. What is this? And it's like, oh, it's that track I rejected like some months ago, and then it's like, but now I have this idea for it. So I would also like just mumble track some stuff over it. The second I felt anything was like just like a spout of inspiration, but I also didn't really want to force it. So if I wasn't getting anything from it, I didn't really try to shoehorn anything. I did do that though at the end when I was like, shit, sorry, can I?
Of course, always. Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't yet. So to be honest,
So I would be like, I would be like, oh no, I can't possibly, like, I have to finish this song, and this is now going into the album. So then I would be like, oh, okay, I need to finish the song. But it was most of it was just kind of like flow of consciousness stuff.
Yeah.
it's a really kind of refreshing way to approach it as well, because like you were saying, if you're not in a particular mood for something that might not necessarily resonate with you as musicians,
Yeah.
but then a week later, life experiences, etc., to revisit something in them for it to gravitate towards you. A lot of bands don't have necessarily. It's kind of more that they're organised on the album, or we've got 12 songs to do, or whatever that is, and it has to be catchy in this bit or really heavy in this bit, and approaching it from a kind of more technical aspect as opposed to an organic aspect. Did you put yourself in those kind of confines because of your experiences writing on other projects, or how did that get? It's such a weird way of approaching things, but it seems
I feel
like the right thing. You know what I mean?
I think whenever I make albums, I like to make like weird rules, and sometimes the rules they won't mean anything to anyone else.
Yeah.
And they can be really like not even like objective or anything. I can just believe it needs to be like this, and if I don't feel that, then it's like alright, it's not on the album. But I just find using rules can be a way to if you have like unlimited restrictions, it's hard to make choices.
Yeah.
So if you make some rules, it puts you into places. But I don't like the places to be genres.
Yeah.
Because of sometimes like I don't want to listen to a genre.
Yeah.
And if you're playing that genre and you're trying to write, then it becomes like, well, I'm not feeling this today. So that's where this is. The rules we created were to kind of free up away from that.
Yeah.
And you just have to trust whatever you're feeling in the moment. And sometimes, like I would go to the studio with Stefan and we would jam, and I'd just be really bored.
Yeah.
And just not feeling lethargic. And some of the songs came from that. And then you just trust, well, that's a feeling. Music's about what you're feeling. So any feeling you feel is valid. You don't need to be like, oh, it needs to be this or that. You just trust it. And then collectively, like all three of us would have to be like, oh no, this is a track.
Yeah.
So
I personally haven't. I don't think I've ever played like any particular genre of music, and I tend to like. Yeah, I don't really. When something sounds very like one thing, then I'm not terribly attracted to it.
Yeah.
And I feel like your influences, at least for me, like that's kind of a work you do previously. Like you. I mean, it's not a work, but you have your music that you listen to and that influences and inspires you, and then that stays in this like, or creates this like backlog or this like backpack of of tools that you have, and it's this kind of residual feeling or emotion or memories, and it's trying to access that memory from the music that you liked and which resonates with new demos or new pieces of music. So it's all kind of a bit out of the corner of the eye. And the same thing with the lyrics as well. Actually, I don't like things to be particularly explicit. There are bands that do like explicit lyrics, and I think they have like insane power, and it's like a really great skill and strategy in itself, I think. But personally, I like to write things that are kind of more symbolic or more like in this kind of hazy, dreamy territory. So it's a bit the same. Like it's kind of you've lived things in the past, and then creating music is just about putting yourself in a stage which is like really porous, and you just kind of
receptive.
Receiving something, and like just trying filtering through your own experience, and something comes out of the other end, and your influences are probably going to be excreted in the process as well, but hopefully not in like a rigid way. In a rigid or like a way that's like instantly identifiable to something else.
Because I found listening to it, it's a real trip of an album. It really does kind of. There's not two songs on it that sound necessarily alike, but there's a cohesive sound throughout. And I always find that really interesting. There's a time and a place for bands that have one sound and you get it for 25 minutes and then that's it, great. But there's as well, I've found more recently that I don't sleep particularly well, so I like a nice pair of headphones on at night, dark room, and you put on an album, you just feel yourself sink into it, and that's what I got from it. It really meanders in some kind of very, very interesting places, both vocally and guitar work as well. Did you say that, like, just in general, the writing process for Turnaround was relatively short for that as well then?
For the, like, let's say the structures and like the guitar parts and bass parts, like, I think 3 of the tracks were written within 3 hours.
That's
and then
But I mean, you have to factor in all the time, all the stuff that didn't actually make it.
So it's like that's just like that. Like it's kind of chance in a way, but it's just like you just like we would be recording and like we'd have the mic set up and we'd just be recording, and then as soon as it was good, we're like, all right, we do this and we work out really quickly and just trust it and press record, and then like that would stick. Sometimes, and other times
and then it's just like chiseling away at the demo, like sticking it in a door and like being like, okay, now how to
like sure there would be the odd change for some of them. I mean, not all the tracks. There was a couple of tracks that were written in a more like took a little bit longer to get together, but the majority of them are written in that way. But I don't know. It was also a period where I was playing in like a lot of bands in Germany, and I was touring, like not touring, playing a lot of gigs. Yeah. So I was just in like I'm just playing this a lot. Yeah, I was. I don't know, man. I wrote a lot about songs that year.
Going to the mine of songs.
It's,
down the mines every day.
You just get used to trusting your feelings with it. It's also just fun. I really like music. So, So it's
never work if you enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah. One thing as well, you were saying about how it's like a trip of an album with lots of different styles and stuff. It's one thing I actually find missing at the moment from music is like lots of bands play a genre, which like you said can be great, but I found like maybe in like the 90s, like lots of bands had albums that were like one song was like insanely heavy and raw and aggressive, the next minute was like really intimate and beautiful, and I love that. And so that's probably, if I'm naturally left to my own devices, that's how albums that I make, not all the albums because I do it, but like I have a strong creative control over will naturally end up like.
I remember the thing about it is that I think musically very similar to you. I think that there's a bit of fatigue that sets in with me with certain kind of one directional or one genre specific albums that come out, and I find myself not returning to them as much. The ones that tend to end up at an end of year list for me are not the ones that are the most commercially successful, the ones that stick to one thing. It's the ones that I've revisited more and more because every time I go back it's a different experience, or how I'm feeling that day kind of colours the listen that I'm experiencing, and it's all the way through it, especially vocally. I think like you approach it like in such a really interesting way, whereas like some of the kind of like aggressive nature in your voice comes in at bits I wouldn't necessarily anticipate. Is that just kind of just how you're feeling the song to go and just kind of feeling out that space in the music?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like for me, my approach to music has always been, I mean, I really, really love especially singing. It's been like it's always been like a very cathartic experience for me, and a way of processing a lot of things in my life, and I feel that that's kind of like my trade. So when recently I became like not necessarily by choice, kind of got shoved into the full-time musician lifestyle, and which I'm like really happy about, by the way. I'm like taking all the chances now, but what I was saying that I was thinking like, okay, so what am I really creating here, like, or what am I offering on? And I think actually not just, I don't think it's exclusive to me, but like if you are able to like as I said before, become permeable to like some of these experiences and create something which is like intangible, like music, but can make other people, or can facilitate for other people. It's almost like an emotional canvas on which the listener can project their own emotions and help or offer this like solace, and that's like, I think what I'm the most interested about with music, that it has this power of like creating a space where people from like, even if they aren't understanding the lyrics, or you've never met them before, but they can hear this sound and it can trigger emotions and it can help them cope with things. And so I think that's where it comes from like making sure that every time I write a song, I'm in that stage. Even if like obviously each time it's kind of like channeling a different emotion or a different thing, but it's always trying to remain connected to that. In
terms of, so you've obviously got the album out now, and you're out on tour just now. I think you've been announced for Art Tangent next year. What is the rest of 2024 looking like in terms of what you can tell us, if you can tell us anything? I know sometimes it's hard to mention things that aren't 100% locked down, but might be...
I don't think we have anything like secret.
No.
We're just not gonna be doing healthy living for a bit because I have my other project.
Like 3 months.
Yeah, so for the next 3-4 months, I'm recording and finish writing and recording my next multi-month album. So then I think
there'll be some shows scattered
Yeah.
throughout the year, I think. But we already started writing new stuff like 2 weeks ago. We were in Germany and we were writing for some more stuff.
Because you wrote so much stuff, this is more just a professional curiosity, because you had so much stuff kind of in the works for this one here, does any of that stuff come back into consideration for an album too? It's just
straight in the bin.
Right.
If you don't use it, it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, you could.
No, I love it. I love it.
it's like a random song generator.
I think it's like songs are everywhere.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be precious about this idea you had. Like, sure, if you hear it and it naturally you randomly listen to go, like, holy crap, why didn't we use this? But I'm not going to listen to the stuff we didn't use.
Yeah.
So that it's not going to, for me anyway, it's not going to happen. Like, I'm not going to listen to what we didn't use.
I always remember there was there was one of those Korn albums where I was in the press and they were talking about, it was maybe their 5th album or something, 6th album. They've been on the go for years, and there's a riff and I'm like, I know that riff, and it's on, I think, their original demo album, and they've just obviously it's been there like one day we will write the song that this will fit into.
Yeah. I feel like that does happen that you have like this one riff or this one like strong emotion.
Below, like one of the tracks on our first the double single release was actually a track chord progression I wrote for Falloch, my old band, years and years ago, and it finally came to life.
I'm so sorry.
But that was that's a rare case of that, and it was just because Amaya really liked it. And was like, can we use this? And I was like, all right. But that's a rare case for me. Like, I prefer just keeping everything really fresh.
Yep. Is that because you, as a musician, are kind of always moving forwards and maybe not looking back as much, or just that songwriting?
That sounds really good.
Feel free to use that. Or is it a case of that, like from a kind of a writing perspective, it's not that it's not difficult for you to do, but you're never really in that writer's block that some people talk about?
I'm not experienced writer's blocks. I can't imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
And I hope I don't ever experience it. Like, I don't know, but I don't like writing music alone. Like, I don't sit at home and write write something and then take it to people. I always usually write with someone else there in the room. I can't remember what the question was now.
No, that's that. So do you think then, without pinning you down, do you think we will have long to wait for an album too? Which is a weird question because your album's not even a year old yet, but...
I think realistically, just because of, like, Amaya's doing the next Blood the Moth album and I'm producing it, so that's like... And then that will come out next...
Autumn.
October, November. So
there's a whole tour for that.
And then a Healthyliving album won't be out before then.
Yeah.
But I would say the year after sometime. So like...
We're definitely writing now, and we'll continue to write the next year. Like, I think probably May, June, July is going to be writing months as well.
Yeah.
For that.
So I don't know when, but it won't be that. I don't know.
That's fine.
I don't know. But it's not like it's like, it's going to be next year. We're going to smash out another one.
Anything can happen, though.
I would quite like that.
Yeah.
I quite like it, but...
It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you both.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see it live
Likewise.
later on because it's been in my rotation now for about 2 weeks, so
awesome.
like constant. But yeah, I wish you all the success with the remainder of the tour, and can't wait to check you out live there.
Thank you very much.
So
Thank you very much. Check out their album; it's available now.